For this episode, I thought I would switch the vibe up just a little bit. So we are in my living room. You get a great view if you're watching the video version. You get a great view of Clover behind me. I'm in my pajamas and I am the most relaxed that I think I've been in months. And I will definitely contribute all of that relaxation to the rage room that I just did. Welcome to the Simply Jamilah podcast. Hi, my name is Jamilah. If you are new here or if you just simply forgot, that is my name. And I don't know what this podcast episode is going to be. I don't know. I'm in the most relaxed state. I just ate the smallest bowl of soup. I had a really great day of just not going to work and accomplishing a lot of appointments and things. Now, I will say it was mildly awkward because my therapist office is literally next to the school, and I left therapy when everyone was arriving back from an event that the seniors were on, and the principal walked off the bus and saw me, and I took the day off, but I was in therapy. And earlier in the morning I got my eyes dilated. Oh my goodness, that was an insane experience. I've had my eyes dilated before, but this was a completely different optometrist, and I was squinting for my life. It was really, really rough. But I think the best way to end today is what I did, which was a rage room. This was very much so intentionally done. And it's a Tuesday when I'm recording this, so it almost feels random, but I just really needed to get it out. And I screamed so much. I was brought to tears. I had my FU playlist playing. It's literally called EFF space YOU. It's called FU. And it just, it felt so good. I got so much tension off of my shoulders. I looked at the woman and I was like, I will be back. I will definitely be back. I hope that I never get to a point in life where I am so pent up with a lot of emotion that I have to be back. But I know that if I need to, I have somewhere to go, because therapy's great in the verbal sense, but the physical therapy, physically releasing a lot of just emotion and things that take space in your brain. And I screamed a lot throughout it, and I was breaking windows. I was breaking beer bottles. I was smacking kegs. There was a giant car in there that I was just going to town with, and I was hitting the roof of the car so hard that the already shattered glass was just continuing to fall. I was doing so much, but it was so necessary, and I just felt so good. So if you've ever been curious about a rage room and you've always wondered if it's worth it, I think it is definitely worth it. But that's not what this episode's about. And before I get into what this episode's about, I actually, for the first time in what feels like forever, have a weekly win to share. Yes, I think a lot of people were sad to say goodbye to Stephen Colbert, but from my understanding, homeboy, did he make a YouTube channel or something the next day? I just saw different things on threads that was saying he wasted no time and being back on ATV the next day, but I just also kept seeing YouTube show and YouTube channel. So I don't know where he's back on, but I am not shocked at all. He is a man who speaks for the people, and I'm glad that he's still going. So that is a win, but that's not the one that I even want to talk about. I watched a clip, and I don't know, I'm thinking it's from his last episode, and he made a huge, over $2 million donation to World Central Kitchen. He presented in a joking way, of course, because it's a comedy. It's not a comedy show, but he's a comedian. He presented it on a super, super tiny check to Jose Andres, but it was an over $2 million check. And I think that is a big win. So that way they can get food and meals to families who absolutely need it. So awesome to Stephen Colbert and everyone who participated. And I believe he was holding an auction. I don't know if it was the entire week or month, but I'm pretty sure it was the week leading up to his final show. He was holding an auction of just different memorabilia from the show, and all that money went to World Central Kitchen. So amazing to everyone who participated in the auction. I wish I had known it was happening. I can't afford anything, but I just at least wish I'd known that it was happening. And then awesome to Stephen Colbert for, just giving. I think that is amazing. And everyone who was in good spirits during that final episode. And now for a complete subject shift. So I'm actually going to talk about just like my time with my dietitian. And it's kind of an insane topic of discussion. It's been 10 months of me seeing a dietitian, but that journey is about to change. And I'm emo about it, but I'm emo about it in a really, really good way. I'm very happy for her. My dietitian, it was a few months after I had, maybe it wasn't a few months actually. Now that I'm thinking of the timeline, maybe it was a few weeks, couple of sessions. It had to have been a few sessions after I had initially met her towards the end of July in 2025. She was like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, oh, congratulations. I'm happy for her. But in the moment I was just like, oh my goodness. And I think low key, as we've gone through the months, the back of my brain, I was like, okay, at some point she's gonna have to give birth, and go on maternity leave. And then that time came, and I not prepared. I spent our last session trying really, really hard not to cry, and I knew she was gonna give birth. It just had to happen. What I did not know is that she was going to be taking maternity leave for the rest of the year. So I am being transferred to a different dietitian. It was either that or basically just end my service with Berry Street, because I got my dietitian through Berry Street. The ads on Instagram are pretty dang good, actually. And Berry Street is a great company to work with. I'm not mad at my experience so far. Absolutely not. And I mean, obviously I'm not mad, because instead of completely canceling service with them when she was like, hey, going on maternity leave for the rest of the year, what you want to do, I didn't cancel. I just was like, sure, transfer me to someone. Yeah, still emotional about it, and I enjoyed having her as a dietitian. She was incredibly informative, but we also got to talk about books a little bit. It was a great time, truly a wonderful time. And today I want to talk about the things that I've learned from my first several months the several months that I had with my first dietitian. There's quite a few things that have stayed in my brain, and I just wanted to share that with you guys in case you were curious about a dietitian and what has been happening. I don't know. Maybe you don't care, and I completely get it. I think part of why I'm okay with just transferring is because at the end of the day, she's really become an accountability partner. In the beginning, it was very education heavy, what are we doing here? But it's over the past month and a half, maybe a couple months, she's really turned into an accountability partner. And when problems arise, such as not feeling comfortable eating at the workplace, she's kind of helped me maneuver that, because we've gotten myself to a point where I eat 3 minutes a day. That's not the correct thing at all. Or I eat 3 meals a day. So we've gotten myself to that point, which is absolutely fantastic. And now it's just a matter of, when these challenges arise, how do you overcome them? And we got to a point where it's just okay, you're eating this, great. How do you enhance it? How do you make it better? So I'm grateful for all that I've learned, and I'm happy that we've made it to this point. And I hope that the next person that she feels comfortable transferring me to, the person that she thinks I'm going to vibe with the most, I'm really hoping that we mesh well, and that they're also a really good accountability partner, and that I can talk to them about books as well. Anywho, let's get into what I've learned with my dietitian. First thing, soluble versus insoluble fiber. I remember the basics of it, but don't ask me to explain you what organs do what. I just know that one basically hardens your poop inside you, and then the other one softens it so it flows. When I was coming up with this list, weirdly enough, that was the first thing that came to my brain. And she shared a list, and my phone is not near me, which I'm kind of happy about, because I'm trying to be away from my phone even more than I already am. But she shared a list of foods that have insoluble versus soluble fiber this would have been a really good time to have that list so I could have more to say about that, but I just genuinely don't. I just know there's two different fibers, and it's better to have soluble fiber in my situation than insoluble, but at the end of the day, there also needs to be like a little bit of a balance, I believe she said. Now that I'm looking at this list, a lot of the things that I've learned actually do kind of rely on like the graphics and the information charts, but it's okay. We're gonna do our best. Okay, so the next thing I learned, I've just like little things throughout this journey, I've been introduced to the different nutrients available or found in fruits and vegetables. I knew about protein in like legumes and beans and peanut butter and chicken. And I mean, we talked about that right off the bat because I literally told her, I was like, I'm not a chicken eater. Like, we can't do it. I can't do it. So we did immediately talk about like finding other sources of protein. And we also talked about like how, yeah, beef be bad, beef be fatty, things like that. But she said that even though in those like kinds of meats, there is still a little bit of protein. And she said, yeah, it's not as high as you would find in chicken, but you are getting a little bit of protein. It's just a matter of balance and looking at the fat content of that meat, whatever it may be, whether it's bacon or I don't want to say a hot dog. I don't know why that was the next thing came in my brain, but like a steak, things like that. So even though it's not chicken, and chicken is often associated with having a lot of protein in it, there is protein found in those meats. Again, it's just not as much as you would anticipate. It felt good to learn about that because I was eating like, I don't know. I haven't been eating a lot of beef still. And I was doing okay. So I started eating bacon every so often-ish because this might sound absolutely insane, but it's very, very true. My great uncle was like, hey, bacon grease is good for your dog's skin. And I'm sitting here like, what are you talking about? But then he gave her some for like a day that I was out, and he gave her some more the next day. And I was like, wait, why is she glowing? Why is she glowing? So I believed him, and now I eat bacon every so often, mainly so I can have the grease. And I don't give her too much of it. I'm not absolutely insane. I don't want her to, have high cholesterol or whatever happens when dogs have a lot of grease. I don't want that for her. But I take some of it and I mix it into her dry food, and I'll give that to her for breakfast because she will not eat breakfast with just pure dry food. Like, there has to be something mixed in. So I'll make some bacon and I'll mix it into her dry food so she does eat something for breakfast, and it does help her skin. And we're in that season where her skin needs all of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. But like, there's other foods that I was just eating and I didn't realize I was getting like the nutritional benefit of, such as foods with nutritional content. Mushrooms, they are apparently an excellent source of iron. Had no idea. And avocados, I didn't realize were a really good source of fiber. Don't ask me which one, but I'm pretty sure it's insoluble. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, hey, don't yell at me. I'm going based off of memory. Please don't yell at me. But I did not realize that avocados were a good source of fiber. And once she told me that, I literally looked at her and I was like, is that why I poop every time I eat guacamole? And she was like, yes. And I was like, that makes so much sense. So I have unknowingly been feeding my body nutrients through just different meals that I've been eating. But I also can improve those meals that I've been eating. How? That's the next thing I've learned. Make your meals colorful. Wow. Again, there's a chart that goes along with this. But I don't know, it made sense to me. And I don't know if it's just the way my brain operates. But if I'm making something and then I look at it and it's like lacking some red, some yellow, maybe a little bit of green. Oh, add red, yellow, green bell peppers. Like, it just makes sense. And like I said, there's charts that she gave me, and it's just kind of like, how do you get all of your nutrients? Well, you add these different colors to the basis of your meal. I don't know what the basis of my meal ever is, but I know that if I like look at something, like say I make tuna salad and I look at it and I'm like, okay, that is the saddest, blandest, like cafeteria food rival I've ever seen. How do I make it better? Oh, maybe I grill it and put it into like a lettuce wrap, with some tomatoes. And then on the side, I'm eating like cucumber slices with it. All of a sudden, livened, looks better, looks healthier, looks happier. There is always like, I mean, cereal, which is a recent one that we talked about. I were trying to figure out like a quick thing for me to eat in the morning because of finals and just not having time. And so I was like, I eat Raisin Bran. And we were like, okay, what do we add to Raisin Bran to make it better? And like fruit, right? Because Raisin Bran is bland as heck. You got some dark purple dried grapes and bran, and it's, so to make it more colorful, what are we doing? I'm adding bananas. I would say add strawberries, but that is disgusting. But maybe you add dried cranberries, add that little bit of red in there. So I've just learned that when your meals are more colorful, you're more likely getting more nutrients. And that like kind of blew my mind. It was one of the earlier things that I learned. And so now I'm like hyper aware when I'm planning my meals is like, okay, there has to be color in there somewhere. But like with planning meals, I didn't like write this down, but I felt that with having a dietitian, I had to like look at every nutrition label and like run numbers and calculations and everything. And sometimes she'll like throw out the recommended amount of like what is it, like iron that we need a day or per meal, or like the amount of like fiber that we need to get per meal. Like she'll throw those numbers out. Don't ask me what they are. I like legitimately can't remember. But then we'll like take little things and calculate it. Like when I added mushrooms to my spaghetti sauce, but then I mixed a combination of turkey, Italian sausage, and like plant-based beef, which so good. Discovered it through my dietitian and is amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm a plant-based person forever. But then she told me to not only eat plant-based meats. Like there's just a balance to basically everything that we eat. And I'm more like just aware of making sure that things are balanced. Because I told her about my egg kick. I was on the greatest egg kick ever. And I thought that I was eating the girls up, right? I was like, I'm getting my protein in. I'm eating eggs every day. We're doing awesome. Well, then she was like, cool, but eggs are also a source of fat. So eating eggs every day is actually not the best. And I was like, oh, okay. So once again, there's just the balance, switching up my breakfast, maybe putting eggs in things, but not simply just eating my over easy eggs like I absolutely love. So I took a break from those for a while there, and I actually just now started eating them again. But when she told me that, I was like, oh, okay, like there's truly a balance to everything. I told her I was going to use the ground fake beef, the plant-based beef, to make spaghetti, but then I was also going to use it for another pasta-ish dish. And then she was like, no, like it's okay to eat actual meat too. It's just making sure that there's a balance to it all. And I believe we got on the plant-based meat conversation because of my cholesterol and just like working to bring it down a little bit. With planning my meals specifically, also not just looking at the nutrition label, but planning. We had a whole like discussion about planning before going to the grocery store, because I'll have an idea of what I want to make, but I won't like actually know. It sounds crazy. Like I know, but I don't know. And so I'd go to the grocery store and like low key be winging it and then forget something that I need for what I want to make. And my grandma used to say like it was super unhealthy to like plan out our meals. And I understand where my grandmother was coming from. I truly do. But my dietitian was like, it's okay to plan your meals out for the fact or the sake of when you go to the grocery store, once you figure out where your meals are, it kind of makes it easier as you're going down aisle by aisle. She also said that, maybe you plan out your grocery trip by the meal that you're making, or you plan out your grocery trip by the aisle, or you do a little combo situation, which I kind of do. I have a general area. Nope, that's not correct. I have a general idea of the area where things are in the grocery store that I go to, and then I know that like if there's specific things that I want that my grocery store doesn't sell, I know my alternative grocery stores and kind of just like where they are, so I can be in and out, because we talked about how I have a really great habit of going to the grocery store without eating. And it's not that I don't eat that day. It's just I choose to go to the grocery store when I'm hungry, but it's like always coincidental. Like I don't do it on purpose. It just keeps freaking happening. I don't know. So now when I'm like gonna have a big grocery trip, and it's really only when I'm gonna have a big one. Now sometimes I have like small ones. Like I recently just went to the grocery store with my friend, and all I got was half a loaf of bread and a carton of vegetable broth because that's all I needed. But when it comes to the big trips, I figure out kind of my meals or just get a general idea of what I would like to eat for the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, depending on what the paycheck's looking like, if I'm being honest. And then I sit down and I figure out, not necessarily by aisle, but by department, what I need from each department, especially if I know that I'm going to have to go to multiple grocery stores, and I at least know the general department that I can look for if I'm going into Food Lion instead of Lidl or whatever the case may be. And then what she had me do, because we ran into a problem there, after we figured out the system works, we ran into the problem of me simply forgetting my list. I kept writing a list and just leaving it on the counter. The same way I keep filling up a water bottle and then leaving it on the counter. There's something about my motivation to just dip out the door as soon as I put Clover in her crate that has me forgetting a lot of things. So, and I know this is such a common sense thing, but sometimes I don't think of the common sense thing to do, which in this case would just simply be to take a picture of my grocery list. She was like, as soon as you write it, take a picture of it. So in the event that I definitely more than likely will leave my grocery list behind, I still have a picture of it on my phone. And that was great. Hands down, one of the best things that it's so easy, it's so common sense, but it's just like way I never thought of this. Throughout my time with the dietitian, we kind of shared, I didn't share jack. She shared just different meals and recipes and things that I could try to make. And those were great. 10 out of 10 recommend of a dietitian, just simply for the fact of like, hey, try this. Like I don't remember what she necessarily called them, but they were like oat bars, and it looked like a chocolate cake bar, but it was actually just like oatmeal in a chocolate protein powder, and there was something else. There was definitely something else. Like it wasn't just that, but it looked almost like a brownie. And it's been a minute since I've made it, so that's why my memory gone. Also, it's like 9:30 p.m. So different planet right now. Low key, my brain's probably in my bed. I think one of my bigger things too, and it's something that we consistently like talked about and kind of centered our conversations around as far as like discussing meals and things, is the fact that for me it has to be quick and it has to be convenient. It can't be something super like hard for me to grab. It has to be easy for me to grab, something that'll like last me a while. So we talked about, prepping on Sunday or Saturday, and then just making sure that I'm good for the week as far as just like prepping meals goes. The next thing I learned, and it's actually what inspired the title of this episode, I have executive dysfunction. I've talked about this in a past podcast episode. I've like hinted at it that this episode was coming. Well, it's here. I have executive dysfunction, and it is so sad. The easiest way I can explain it is the way that honestly it came to be. So my dietitian told me it. We were talking about how like I just didn't want to cook. Like there was a zuppa toscana recipe that I really wanted to make because I was craving like a good sausage potato soup. And then again, it's just sausage and potato. Where's the color? And that's when she was like, why don't you add kale, like the zuppa toscana soup from Olive Garden? And I was like, oh, you're so right. I know people who make a really good one, but I was like, maybe I can make it myself. However, I just, we said that 1 week, and then we met every couple weeks. So I said that 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, she was like, how'd it go? And I was like, hey, queen, it went nowhere. It went literally nowhere because I didn't make it. And then she told me about my executive dysfunction. So basically, I would like anticipate the steps that would drain my energy when it comes to cooking, and it makes me want to stop cooking before I've even started. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And I asked her if it was like anxiety. She was like, no, it's not like anxiety. It's just like, it's kind of more like overthinking than anxiety. And I was like, that makes so much sense. But I guess the proper name is executive dysfunction. And I like knew about it in that moment when it came to making the Zuppa Toscana, or at least wanting to. But then I was editing my trip to Seattle video, and I kid you not, I'm like editing, I rough edit. That's the first step whenever you edit a video. And I literally watched a 10-minute clip of me trying to like plan out and anticipate how my trip was gonna go. And I had simply just stepped foot into town. And I sat there and I'm watching this clip of me just talking to the camera and like anticipating everything that could go wrong and the different directions, da da da. And I'm sitting here like, wow, that's executive dysfunction, huh? She's right there, loud and proud. So that's been like a new thing I've been trying to like work on. If I can like spot it, like me doing it, and just am aware enough, then I will shut myself down and be like, no, do not do that right now. Like, it's okay. Calm down. I have to tell myself to take it just one step at a time, literally, and to just start. Just take it one step at a time and start. Obviously, I'm traveling. I can't just be like, just start and then do something random. But also, I can't try to figure out what could go wrong 3 days down the road in the trip. So that is one of the bigger things that I learned. And I, for 2 seconds, thought I was in therapy. Like, it felt like a war flashback. I was like, wait, what? Whoa. But it was a very great and interesting thing to learn about myself. And it kind of felt like a crossover episode between a dietary appointment and a diabetology appointment. So something else that I have like learned in this journey with my dietitian, who is no longer mine, is like the key to lowering high cholesterol is increasing my fiber intake. Hence, the early discussion about soluble versus soluble versus insoluble fiber. It's that fiber is going to help me with my cholesterol problem. And I really truly think it is. I have blood work in a couple of days, and I'm hoping that there is a bit of a change. Granted, the blood work is for my iron, but I'm going to be like, hey, can we also just check the cholesterol? Let's just see how the cholesterol's doing. Actually, speaking of iron, my dietitian also said it's the last thing that we really talked about. And it's kind of funny because she's pregnant, but we talked about prenatal vitamins. She recommended I get those to help with my iron intake. Yes, I'm eating mushrooms and I'm eating iron in foods, and I'm being more aware of what has iron and just finding ways to like balance those in my meals and make my meals more colorful. But also there is a specific number or like amount of iron that we're supposed to get every day as women. And she was like, prenatal vitamins have all of those like nutrients and not nutrients, but like, it has everything that we need basically as far as like women to at least get us a portion of the way there when it comes to the vitamins and minerals that we may be lacking in our everyday. So I found out about that and I got prenatal vitamins. And no, I am not pregnant. I am simply just trying to make sure I get a portion at least of the necessary amount of vitamins and minerals that I should be getting every day. And I feel better taking prenatal vitamins over like a straight shooter iron supplement, because the iron supplement, after a while, it constipates you. And everyone warned me about that when we figured out my iron problem. And I was like, okay, one of the beautiful, this might sound so TMI, but one of the beautiful things to come out of having a dietitian is that I have reduced my constipation tremendously. Why would I want to go back because I'm taking an iron supplement when I can, just do better with eating foods that have iron in them and taking prenatal vitamins? So I say all of that to say I'm grateful for a dietitian. And if you have insurance that can cover it and you're curious, I recommend giving a dietitian a try. It looks different for everyone. So for me, I think she said the typical session is an hour and a half, but my insurance only covers an hour of a session. So we only meet for an hour. However, I have like mildly unlimited visits, whereas some people are very limited on how many times they can go to her a year, or just, Berry Street a year. And so I'm grateful for my insurance. We can get a lot done in an hour. I learn a lot. We that accountability is there. But if you like have the ability, I 10 out of 10 recommend. I really like having a dietitian. Again, bittersweet, very sad, that we had to say goodbye. but very happy for her and her husband for having a baby. And just from our sessions, I know she's going to be a really, really great mom. So I'm excited for her kid. That kid's very lucky. Like, you get the best of the best mothers out there. It is a little sad because now I have a new dietitian, but I'm excited because it's going to be someone else to teach me more and maybe expand my mind on some specific things. Maybe we, troubleshoot some things. Maybe they're like, actually, this is the correct thing. I don't know. I'm just interested in seeing how it goes, but I'm excited that I even have, the ability to have a dietitian, and it truly comes from insurance. So honestly, thank you to the state health plan for that. I cannot, however, thank the state health plan for the things that I'm currently consuming, which I am very excited to talk about. I said that, and I don't actually know if I'm excited to talk about them. I just want you to know I am still thinking about off campus. I understand the girls who are rewatching it. Like, I get it. I'm fighting my entire existence, it feels like, to not go back and just binge it the way I really, really, really want to, because there's some things that I just straight up missed because I skimmed so hard that I missed so many things. But I have to read the deal before I binge it. However, can't read the deal until I finish what I'm currently reading, which I wanted to talk about. It is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Now, I am only 50% of the way through, so I cannot, we'll talk more about it next week when I finish it, but I will say at the current moment in time, I'm trying to figure out when it gets good. I'm reading it for a local book club that I'm in. We meet on Sunday to talk about it, and people in the group chat are like 10 out of 10. I was not expecting that ending. I ended up loving it. When does it get good? My friend was like, it starts off slow, but then it gets there. Baby, when does it get there? Because I'm 50% of the way through, and I'm getting a little frustrated that nothing has happened besides the fact that Alice reminds me of Homegirl from The Silent Patient. So please tell me when it gets good. I'm going to keep reading. I'm committed. I'm really bad about DNFing, so I'm going to read it. Also, I checked it out from my local library, so I definitely have to read it. I got to make it worth their time in that awkward conversation we had when I was getting the book. So I have to make it worth it, but I'm just sitting here when does it get good? I need to hurry up. I need it to get good so I can read the deal, so I can binge off campus and join the internet and the obsession. Speaking of reading a book for watching its adaptation, what a transition there. But I read a while ago Remarkably Bright Creatures, and then I watched the movie this past weekend, and for a while there I was like, okay, it's good. They even added some little comedic elements. I was like, yeah, but it's not ripping me up emotionally. Then the ending came and it said, you're a joke. It looked at me and it said, you're a joke. You thought you were going to be fine. You are not fine. You're welcome. And that was enough to really save the entire movie for me. I think they did a really good job with that adaptation, especially when the ending came in and it just brought it all together the way the book was all brought together. Wow. I highly recommend, even if you don't want to read the book, you're not a big reader, I do recommend watching Remarkably Bright Creatures, because it just... It does something to the heart that's a little good. Also, seeing Sally Field in something, I didn't think she was dead. I'm just going to be straightforward. I did not think she was dead, but I also hadn't seen her in a while. And I didn't know if she was kind of in that wavelength of Julie Andrews. We know you're still there. We know you're still kicking and thriving, but we just haven't seen you. I didn't know if she was there. But so to see her act... Again, I don't know. It just feels like it's been so long. So it made me really, really happy to see her on my screen. I talked about all the things. I had a really good time. Earlier in this episode, I mentioned my tuna salad, and it's time for me to make some more as we finish out the school year. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to stink up the building yet again. So before I hit the hay, I'm going to go make that tuna salad. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Simple Jamilah podcast. I will attempt to be in your ear next week with a new episode. I'm not 100% sure because I have something going on that requires going out of town. But if I can be in your ear next week with a new episode, I definitely will. Because there's always something happening in my life that just seems to be needing to be recorded on a microphone. That wasn't correct English. That's my sign I gotta go. I love you all. Thank you so much. Bye.